folks, sports fans, ASMR Sports here. I have been working today on figuring out my microphone issues. I think I've got it figured out. I basically didn't realize that one of the dials on my audio interface, which I'll show you right there, namely that big one right there, is actually relevant to my recording levels. It's the dial that controls the sound output, or like the level output for the monitor, which is basically just an output that you would normally have going to your monitors or speakers, and I have that output going to my my camera here. So when that was very high, it was basically blowing the signal. It was like just putting massive output to the camera, and that's what was creating the blowout kind of sounds you heard. It was just too much volume, and the the audio on the camera, which is my phone, I couldn't handle it, so it just turned it into digital scramble. So I've got that adjusted. I've been kind of playing with the levels here. Hopefully I've got it kind of in an ideal spot, but let me know if not. So I've actually recorded this, what I'm going to do right now, about 50 times, because I just have been doing run-throughs of it to see if the audio worked when I was trying different things. And yeah, it it did not work, so I'm doing it hopefully for the last time right now. Okay. This is watermelon double bubble, which is my least favorite flavor. But I don't know. It's alright. Okay. Literally everything I've said to you, I've said on a recording about 6 or 7 times now. So I'm getting a little tired of it, and really hope it's like Groundhog Day, the movie. But hopefully it'll all be over soon. Okay, here we go. So I wanted to show you guys this magazine because Sports Collector's Digest is a hobby publication that back in the day, when I was collecting in the late 80s, was a big popular thing that you'd see at any kind of card show, or any kind of card shop that you went to, sometimes the card shows. But it sort of fell off the hobby radar for I think quite a few years, until just recently I noticed that it came back. At least I think it came back. Maybe it was there all along, but I don't think it was. And yeah, I saw an ad for it, and I thought, hey, I'll get a subscription. It was I don't know, maybe $20 for a year, so pretty cheap. So I thought I'd try it out, and I've been getting it for, I don't know, 8 or 9 issues. I think it comes out twice a month or something. It's a pretty high volume kind of publication, if I recall. I might be wrong about that, but anyways, I can't, and I don't know, I think this might be the second latest one. I might have another one somewhere, but this is the one we'll do. So it's got Ohtani on the cover, and so magazines like this tend to be loaded with ads primarily, and publications like this kind of harken back to a time when it was not easy, or perhaps not even possible, to buy cards on the internet, because the internet was not being used yet for commerce, and even once it was, there weren't a lot of card dealers that decided to go on the internet. Now with today, everything's on the internet, so you don't really need a publication like this to have a bunch of ads showing you stuff you can buy. But some people, I think, maybe do enjoy shopping that way, and so they, are able to sell these advertising spots. So a lot of the ads in this publication fit into a few different categories. One is auctions, so this is Heritage Auctions, and you'll see some of their stuff later in here too. It's really cool. T210, Joe Jackson, that's Shoeless Joe Jackson. That's his, I believe that's his first tobacco card ever, so that's like his rookie. Another category in which a lot of ads fall into are ads that are for companies that are buying sports cards. So, a lot of people, a lot of dealers want to buy like entire collections, or maybe even entire like sort of inventories of card shops. So they'll post ads in publications like this. You see it all over Beckett Magazine as well. Highest cash prices. And then the third category is just, ads that list a lot of stuff that's for sale. So you can call in and order these things. These happen to all be like signed sports memorabilia, so jerseys, photos, things like that. They also have a website, of course, so you can go there and order that way. Here's a 2-page spread for Memory Lane Auctions. Got some cool older stuff, including this card, which I would love to own someday. That's the M101-4 Babe Ruth, showing him in his Red Sox jersey. It's from 1916. I think it's pretty much his earliest, like, major league uniform card. We'll see another card. I think it's actually on the next page. That is like 2 years earlier, but it shows him like in a minor league uniform. And there it is. That's a black and white. This is what the color version looks like. It's just an all like sort of red coloration, almost like a sepia kind of thing. But it's from 1914. Baltimore News put this out, and it's got him in an International League team in Baltimore. Pretty amazing. Those are going for, I think, like millions of dollars. Let's see if it says. No. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about past sales. Here's some of the, like, very little actual, like, original content in here from the publisher. It's a little art piece with a kind of career summary of Ron Cey of the LA Dodgers. Here is a bunch of vintage football cards for kind of like set builders. Here's a buying ad from Kit Young. Kit Young is one of the oldest dealers in the business. He has been selling stuff since, gosh, maybe even the late 70s, but his ads are in all the hobby publications I used to read back in like the late 80s and early 90s. Here's a bunch of buy prices for football and baseball vintage sets. Kind of interesting. I feel like it's so weird to have like a buy list for sets because, every set has, a few key cards in it, and really the value of the cards can, differ drastically depending on what condition those key cards are in. And they've got sort of, X-Mint to Near Mint and VGX to EX as the sort of condition they're paying for, but I don't know, there's obviously, hundreds of cards in a set, so I don't know how you arrive at a condition for a set unless every card is in the exact same condition, but what are the odds of that? Very low. So I've always thought that was kind of weird. I think that's weird when they sell sets like that too, and they sort of have a condition. Alright, here's this is like a 6-page spread of a bunch of items, different lots of cards there, for sale in an auction that will happen on, well, looks like it closes on July 14th, so it's already closed. But just lots of kind of, you know, sort of low to mid-range cards. Here's more original content. This is a kind of a review of a product that came out recently, Panini Legacy Football. I've not ever opened any of that or seen any of it, so I guess that didn't get super popular, although, you know, not saying much that I haven't opened it because I don't really touch a lot of football stuff, particularly because, like, my wholesaler doesn't ever really give me football products except, like, very rarely. I did get a few good things from 2020, just a handful of boxes. Like, I got 2 boxes of Phoenix, one of which I opened on a video on this channel, so check that out if you haven't already. That was a really fun box to open. Here's another buy ad from Crook Cards. Crook Cards is, they do a ton of stuff on eBay. I see their stuff all the time. They have a lot of unopened stuff that they sell on eBay. So they're very active buyers of that kind of stuff. Here's Collect Auctions. Bunch of nice singles over here. Kind of medium-high range. And what I like to see always is unopened stuff, since that's what I really love to have more than anything else, is unopened cards. A couple early Bowman baseball boxes, 92 and 93. Of course, 92 was the first year they sort of became a premium product. Before that, 89, 90, and 91, they were sort of a kind of a lower end product, very similar to their flagship tops. But starting in 92, they kind of went full color, front and back, and became more of a higher end product. You know, sort of not super high end. It wasn't really as high end as Stadium Club was for tops back, you know, in the early 90s, but it was higher end than it had been in the past, and still focused on rookies, of course, always. Here's a little article on sort of like rookie cards and when they, you know, gonna boom and bust. Jared Kelnick came up earlier this year, had a real nice couple games, and promptly started sucking. So his stuff spiked, like, right when he came up. God, it's funny because Wander Franco has followed sort of a similar trajectory. He came up, hit a home run in his first game. I think he was like 2 for 4 or something, or 2 for 3 maybe. And his stuff just, you know, skyrocketed, and it was actually already quite high. Since he is supposed to be like the game's best prospect. But now he's been struggling, and so some people are thinking he might go back down for a little more development. It's kind of a bummer because I have a bunch. I don't have a lot of Wander Franco cards, but I have quite a little stash of 2019 Bowman, which is his rookie Bowman first Bowman autos and first Bowman cards are in there. I have a bunch of I have like 2 hobby box cases of that, and I have a ton still of well, not a ton, but I still have, like, I don't know, probably a case worth of mega boxes that I bought when that stuff had just come out. I was getting those boxes for like 40 or 50 bucks a pop because those things always go up, man. Always. Seems like they go up to at least $100, and now, like, the 2018 mega boxes are like going up to $200 because of Otani cards in there. There's always also Luis Robert cards, but he's injured, so he's not really moving anything. Here's more Heritage Auction stuff. A lot of real high-grade vintage stuff, like PSA 10s of Clemente 73 tops, Rich Gossage 73 tops, Juan Marshall 1965 tops. Some pretty neat little cards. I'd be worried those are trimmed though, man. I tell you, anything that high-grade vintage feels like it's, you know, got a decent chance of being trimmed in my view. Alright, this is an ad for All-Star Cards and their 120-page full-color catalog. I've always seen these ads and thought it would be interesting to see one of these catalogs of theirs, but I've never ordered them. I'm a little hesitant to do that because I wouldn't want to like have a bajillion of these catalogs over, you know, the course of 4 or 5 years. One time I was on, I think it was Heritage Auctions that has like a really thick catalog that comes out whenever they do an auction, and I signed up for that, and I don't know, it's after like 4 or 5 of those I really regretted it because they just take up a lot of space, and I mean, you can throw them away, but it just feels wasteful to get them if you're not gonna really use them. But anyways, I wonder if anybody's ever ordered those catalogs. Here's a kind of buying your cards ad for David Adams, and this gentleman up here is Reed Casayoka. He is the buyer for David Adams, but for many, many years he was the buyer for Baseball Card Exchange, which if you collect vintage or like 80s unopened stuff, you know Baseball Card Exchange very well because they, among other things, they are the kind of primary provider of authentication services for unopened wax boxes. So if you send them a wax box, they will look at the packs inside and confirm that none have been opened, that the seals on them match the, you know, characteristics that would have been present when they came out of the factory, and they certify that all of the packs in your box are unopened, and then they'll wrap your box in a little cellophane and put a little label on there. So I have lots of boxes that have been wrapped that way, and generally, you know, there's a nice little premium for boxes that are wrapped as opposed to boxes that are unwrapped and don't have that kind of authentication to them. So anyways, Reed was the buyer for Baseball Card Exchange for many years, and he would go all around the country buying up people's unopened sports cards. But at some point, like maybe a year or 2 ago, he moved over to David Adams, and now they're doing the same thing for them. So Baseball Card Exchange has gotten a different buyer, and they have an ad actually later in this magazine, which we'll see. Here's an ad for a card show in Des Moines, 250 booth. That's pretty cool for the people who are in that area. I don't think Des Moines really ever had a show that was that big. In fact, most metro areas, you know, that are sort of like not like mega cities like I don't know, New York or LA or San Francisco, or I don't know what other examples, maybe Chicago. Other than major cities like that, like large cities like Minneapolis, Des Moines, you know, pretty much anything in the Midwest, and probably most of the smaller, or most of the, like, you know, cities of that size, like 1 million, 2 million people, didn't really have like these really big shows of 200 or 300 or 400 tables. Like I remember I would always look in like Boston was kind of similar. They did have a pretty big show that I think was maybe like 150 tables. Maybe it was 200 shows. It was at the Shriners Auditorium every year in, I think, Wilmington, Massachusetts. Not to be confused with Wilmington, Delaware. But anyways, this Boston show was maybe once a year. But, you know, generally the shows that went on in Boston, where I lived for many years, before returning to my native Midwest. most of the shows in Boston were like, 40 tables, 50 tables. But I think now with the explosion of the hobby, you're seeing more kind of, medium size, or like small, large cities, we'll call them, like Minneapolis and Des Moines, or Kansas City. Like, they're starting to have like much bigger shows, and it's a cool thing because, the more tables you have at a show, the better it's going to be, no question. So this is an article that is about a company called Collectible, and they're one of the companies that is doing some interesting stuff with regard to selling fractional ownership in sports cards. So what that means basically is that they acquire very expensive sports cards, and then they sell pieces of ownership in those cards. So they might buy a 52 Topps Mantle rookie card, graded PSA 9 or something. It's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they might sell 10,000 shares of that card. So divide that price by 10,000. That's what a share is, and you can buy 1 share or 5 shares or 10 shares. I think they generally limit, so you can't like buy thousands of shares, but you can own a piece of it. And what happens is, when the card goes up in value, then your shares are worth more because they track the price of the card. So if you think that the 52 Topps Mantle is a great investment because you think it's going to triple in price in the next 2 years, but you don't happen to have a few $100,000 laying around to buy one of them, well, then this is a way that you can buy, whatever, $100 in shares, and see the value of those shares go up, 2x or 3x or whatever it is, as the card increases in value. So it's an interesting thing. I'm actually pretty interested in this because, there were some real hoops to jump through to make this happen. In particular, whenever you sell any kind of like store of value or purported store of value, you're essentially selling what is called a security in the United States, and selling of securities is highly regulated by both the federal government, which has the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, and then each of the 50 states also have securities departments that will determine, what you can do in their particular states when you want to sell securities in their states. So when you want to do something like this, you have to basically qualify to sell your, securities in whatever states you're in. So oftentimes states will say, if you qualify for the SEC's regulations, then you're basically good to go in our state. Some states will not do that. They'll have different regulations. But the point is, it's kind of a lot of hoops to jump through. I work with I don't want to say too much about what I do, but I work with startup companies as part of what I do. I mean, that's not everything, but so I know enough to be dangerous about things like venture capital and investments in companies, and so that's why I know about a lot of this stuff, and to see a lot of the things that are relevant to investing in startup companies being translated into investing in securities backed by sports cards is pretty fascinating to me. I think a lot of people had this idea and thought it would be cool to own a sort of fractional share of some awesome sports card like that M101-4 Babe Ruth card that was at the beginning of this magazine. I mean, I'd love to own that thing, but I can't own. Well, I guess theoretically I could buy one. I don't know what those are going for, but I probably don't want to, get a mortgage or something like that on a card. But a lot of people do not have the ability to buy that card or similar price cards, or maybe even a card that's worth, $20,000, like maybe a Luka Doncic rookie or something. But they do want to have some money kind of, riding on the success of the card, and so this is a way to do that. But I think a lot of people sort of, maybe they had the idea and they went to go talk to their lawyer, and the lawyer's like, yeah, here's like 50 hoops we gotta jump through to do this, and they're like, yeah, no thanks. But, if there's enough of a demand for something, it's going to happen. Someone's going to do that. It's kind of like how, like for Uber to do what they did, they had to basically figure out how to, do like these ride-sharing things in operations in like every state. And a lot of states, they had to like change the laws so that what they were doing was legal, with regard to like insurance and liability and stuff like that. But so a lot of companies, I think, didn't do what Uber did, even though they thought it was probably a good idea, because they just didn't want to deal with solving the riddle of how to, jump through the hoops. But then someone decides they're going to do it, and from what I can tell, Collectible, this company, this guy looks to be the CEO, is doing quite well with this, and a lot of the cards they bought have gone up in value. And actually, I talk a little bit lately about how the sports card market has really fallen significantly. A lot of cards are down 50% or more, but actually, like, these super high-end cards are, I think, generally faring much better than that. They have not dropped that much. And when I say super high-end, I'm talking like, cards that are $1 million plus, or even like $50,000 plus cards are doing quite well. But like LeBron stuff that was like $20,000, $30,000, a lot of that stuff has dropped significantly. And I will say that the 86 Fleer Jordan like graded cards have dropped significantly too. But I don't think you would see much drop in the price of 1952 Topps Mantle cards, or a lot of these like super crazy, high-end vintage cards, like that Babe Ruth card, or like I don't know what, like I have a bunch of Ty Cobb cards that are like low end because they're not in great condition. But I don't think those have dropped that much, but they also didn't go up as much during the rise. So it's like vintage has just been this much steadier thing, and I think a lot of people are seeing that and maybe are going to want to get more involved with having some kind of part of their collection or ownership in vintage stuff. So companies like Collectible will really maybe benefit from that. We'll see. Okay, here we go. These are some of the cards that Collectible, I think, has done fractionalized ownership with. Larry Fritch, man, talk about old dealers. He's got to be the oldest, active dealer. Now, Larry Fritch died quite some time ago. I think maybe 20 some years ago or more. But his son, I think, operates the business now, and they've been doing it for 51 years. It looks like they have a catalog available too. So if you're looking for some free catalogs, go ahead and give them a call or go online and order up your free catalog. If you like to kind of look through stuff. Here's the cover article on Ohtani. And then a show calendar, which is not very complete, I don't think. More ads. Maybe I should put an ad for hot cardboard in here. I don't know, I think that would be a pretty low return. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Sudden cough, come on. Hopefully you're already asleep right now. And you didn't even hear that. Oh, this is about the company Alt, which is there's like an online marketplace for cards that I'm not really sure what exactly sets it apart. I've looked at it a little bit. It has a very slick interface. It's kind of cool in that, it tries to be like sort of a stock market for cards, kind of like StockX for unopened cards. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't really spent a lot of time with it. And here's that ad for the baseball card exchange buying. There's the guy, Phil Endress. I have to say, I think either Dave and Adams or Baseball Card Exchange would probably be good to sell to. If you had a bunch of like older, unopened stuff, I would probably think Baseball Card Exchange might be better at that. David Adams does more modern and might have better ability to price out like singles, but either of those companies, I don't know, I've done a lot of business with, and they seem pretty legit. The owner of Baseball Card Exchange has got to be like one of the nicest, like most honest dudes in the hobby. So I really like that about Baseball Card Exchange. His name is Steve Hart, by the way. There's his name right there, owner Steve Hart. Oh, by the way, one thing I recently did is I bought a case of 1989 Pro Set Football Series 2, and I had the seller ship it straight to Baseball Card Exchange so they could authenticate it for me. I hope that they can authenticate it as like a sealed case and then wrap the boxes inside as from a sealed case, or FASC. But they might not be able to do that because like the case was like really taped up, had a lot of tape, and when you tape over the original seals, I think it makes it harder to tell. But I think if you open the box, that there might be a way to see if the tape was intact. But we'll see. We'll see what Baseball Card Exchange can do for me. If not, then they'll just open the case up and then wrap the boxes as, complete boxes with unopened packs in it, instead of from a sealed case boxes, which are more valuable. All right, well, there you have it. Let's hope to God this sound quality issue is a thing of the past, and that this video is good. If you hear this posted, then, or see this posted, then I think it means it's probably good, but let me know if you hear anything wacky. Alright, well, thanks so much for watching, everybody, assuming we get these issues ironed out now. I should be recording more frequently, so I will try to do that, and appreciate your support. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you all later. Bye now.